I Know Where She Is, by S.B. Caves. Read by Sarah Beckett. For My Wife. Part 1. Chapter 1. Francine didn't notice the letter until she was on her way to the kitchen for another glass of vodka. She spotted the white envelope, standing out against the gray carpet, and automatically assumed it to be a fast food flyer. She picked the envelope up, turned it over. It was unmarked, no stamp, and the fold hadn't been glued down but tucked inside. She took it to the kitchen, set her glass down on the counter, and removed the small sheet of lined paper from inside. 5 words were scrawled in jagged chicken scratch. I know where she is. It took a second for the sentence to calibrate in Francine's mind. She inhaled sharply and traced her eyes over the writing again to ensure she hadn't misread it. Then she opened the envelope and tipped it upside down, as though an explanation might fall out, like a vital piece of the trick missing from the magician's hat. She realized she could hear herself panting and was suddenly burning inside her blouse. The moisture evaporated from her mouth. She folded the paper up and placed it delicately back inside the envelope, then padded to the front door and swung it open. Barefoot, she stepped out onto the cold concrete and looked around. Nobody there. She walked over to the balcony and peered down into the vacant courtyard below, her eyes searching for movement in the shadows. She turned and saw light through the door panes of number 40. She rang the bell, could hear the muffled blare of their television from within. A small Chinese lady opened the door and stared up at her blankly. Hi, Francine began, unsure as to whether the woman even spoke English. Sorry to bother you. I live next door. She pointed at her apartment, despite crossing paths with the woman almost every day. For 6 years they'd maintained an unspoken treaty with one another. I won't bother you with small talk or empty pleasantries if you will extend me the same courtesy. Up until now, it had worked just fine. I got a letter through my door today. It didn't have a name on it or anything. I was wondering if you saw someone come by my place. No, the woman replied, with a small shake of the head. You haven't seen anyone hanging around the building? Anyone you don't recognize? No, she repeated, defensively this time. Okay, thanks. Francine walked to number 36 and pressed the bell, conscious of the Chinese lady still watching from her doorstep. When nobody answered after 3 rings, Francine cursed and went back inside her own apartment. She poured herself another inch of vodka and stared at the envelope. How could someone write such a vague message and leave no way to get in contact with them? As she gulped from the glass, she sloshed vodka down her blouse, but didn't bother to dab at the damp patch. She turned the conundrum over in her mind, trying to make sense of it. The vodka had dulled her body somewhat, but she was still able to think rationally. What it really came down to was this. The author of the note was either pulling a hurtful prank or telling the truth. Perhaps some kids had found her address, knew about what had happened, and had decided to venture out in the pouring rain to deliver the letter. The chances of that scenario being plausible slimmed when she considered that they wouldn't even have the joy of seeing her reaction as she read the message. She hadn't been bothered by anyone in years, not since she moved to this apartment. Could her address have leaked on the internet? She wasn't sure how that could be possible, not with the measures she'd taken to prevent such a thing from happening. No, this felt different. There was a disturbing vagueness to the note. In her experience, if someone wanted to pick open the scab, they didn't tiptoe around it. The sick bastards went into explicit detail, spilling every sordid scenario they could think of to hurt her. So what was the alternative? She trudged to the living room and snatched her cell phone off the sofa. Her fingers, clumsy from the alcohol, located Will's number, then hovered over the screen for a moment before dialing. She paced the living room, waiting for him to answer, biting her thumbnail and hearing the click of her teeth inside her skull. It rang 6, 7, 8 times before it went to voicemail, and she tasted blood from her thumb. She hung up and redialed, the phone slippery in her palm. Again, the dial tone droned on, and for one fleeting, terrible second, she thought she was going to get the voicemail again. But then he answered, his voice distant with confusion. Francine? Yeah, it's me. She cleared her throat. Yeah, hello, it's Francine. I got that. How are you? I think it might be a good idea if we talked, like, face to face. Can you come over? What? In the staccato silence that segmented their dialogue, Francine could hear Sheila hovering close by, muttering, meek and curious. Look, can you come over? Right now, tonight. I have something I need to show you. What is it? I don't want to do this on the phone, Will. I wouldn't be calling you if it wasn't important. He paused, exhaled. We might not have the same opinion on what's important at 8 o'clock at night when it's pissing down with rain, he said. And ever so faintly, Francine heard a squeak from Sheila. Heat flared through her chest, a ring of fire burning the nape of her neck. She felt sweat trickle down her back. You won't have to be here for very long, I promise. She faltered, her skull heavy as a cement mixer. Can you come or not, Will? He took a few breaths to consider her question or to receive instruction from Sheila, Francine wasn't sure which, and then said, Is it some kind of emergency? Yes, I think it is. And you can't tell me what it's about? Now it was her turn to hesitate, knowing that he would recoil, that he would berate her or maybe hang up. It's about Autumn. She was going to leave it there, but the vodka told her the sentence needed an exclamation mark. Obviously, it's about Autumn. Why else would I call? I see. Right, you see. So can you come over? Why can't you come to me? At this, a flittering whisper protested, but Francine couldn't pick out exactly what was said. She heard muffled sounds, presumably as he covered the phone to say something to Sheila. Then he added, I mean, I can meet you somewhere. It doesn't seem fair that I should drive all the way over to you. All right. Francine swept the clammy hand down her face. I'll leave in 10 minutes and phone you when I'm near. Will there be a diner open or something like that? I'm not staying to have coffee and donuts, Francine. I've got things to do here. Fine. We'll just go sunbathing then, shall we? She felt the anger rise in her throat like bile. She swallowed it down before continuing. I meant a diner where we can go to be out of the rain. What do you think I'm trying to do here, lure you into some kind of date? Sighing, he said, We can talk in the car, surely? The muscles in her jaw tensed. Works for me. I'll be there in an hour. Don't keep me waiting around for you. He hung up before she could retort, and, childish as it was, she resented that he'd had the last word, knowing that he'd done it to spite her. No, maybe that wasn't completely true. He might have done it for Sheila's benefit, and this thought only made the ropes of tension tighten across her neck and shoulders. She went to the bathroom and splashed her face with cold water before swigging a capful of Listerine. In the mirror, she saw that her eyes were glassy and bloodshot, but she could pass that off as exhaustion if he mentioned it. She changed into a baggy sweater and a pair of unflattering jeans that gave her a white mama ass, a phrase she'd picked up on one of the numerous trashy reality TV shows she cycled through. In truth, her ass wasn't as flat as the jeans made out, and anyway, today was Thursday, which meant she was allowed pancakes for breakfast and vodka for dinner. But tomorrow would be 5 miles on the treadmill, squats, and that god-awful rowing machine. The more she walked around her apartment, the drunker she felt. I'll end up killing someone, she murmured to herself, and decided to make a thermos of instant coffee. She put the letter in her jeans pocket and kept her hand on it as she descended through the apartment complex. She wanted to be able to feel it at all times, to stop it from sprouting a pair of wings and flying off into the night.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?